I love seeing actors defend franchises they're part of, and sadly, it doesn't happen enough. Almost every actor is afraid to lose their careers and be blacklisted for having the wrong opinions or speaking out against certain companies. But one of the actors from Lord of the Rings has now spoken out about the Rings of Power, saying he had no interest in it and they only made it hoping to make some quick money. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So as it says, Lord of the Rings actor Bernard Hill slams Rings of Power as a money-making venture, not interested in watching it. Now, we, over the past few months, have been very curious about what the original Lord of the Rings cast thought of the Rings of Power, because a lot of them didn't really speak out about it. The only ones that made very blunt statements were Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, because of course they defended Rings of Power during what seemed to be like an Amazon stunt to get people to accept the new actors and not be mad that they didn't quite go in an accurate Tolkien direction. But we also saw Viggo Mortensen, who of course played Aragorn, come out and say that he even forgot Rings of Power existed. So, Bernard Hill, the actor best known to Lord of the Rings fans around the world as King Theoden, hit out at Amazon's Rings of Power in a recent interview with Metro. The Rings of Power aired its 8-episode first season on Prime Video this fall, and when asked if he watched the show, he snapped back, "No, not interested. It's a money-making venture, and I'm not interested in watching that or being in it," he said. Good luck to them and all that stuff, but it's not like the real thing. He is so right. This show really isn't real Lord of the Rings. It's not real Tolkien, and that's why we have been so critical of it, because they tried to slap the Lord of the Rings names on this show, thinking that it would get everyone excited, thinking that it would be an instant hit, but there were major problems. They didn't follow canon, they created tons of new characters and new storylines. It just overall was a bad show, and it deserved to get roasted the way that it did. And obviously, every company wants to make money. No company wants to shove a lot of money into a product just for it to fail, but it seems like while yes, Rings of Power was the most expensive show ever created, it also lost a lot of money for them. They have greenlit season 2, and currently they're actually releasing the names of new cast members for season 2. Unfortunately, some actors have been recast, and a lot are seeming to dip out going into season 2, like the actor who played Adar is now gone, which is very sad because he was one of the best actors that was part of the show. But yeah, I mean, of course, every company wants to make money. Going into season 2, they're hoping that they'll be able to really cash in on LOTR fans and, you know, give us the content we expected in season 1, or so they're saying, but I just don't think that they can fix the problems that they've made themselves. He was then asked if the Lord of the Rings franchise should have ended after Peter Jackson wrapped his original trilogy with Return of the King, and he responded completely yes. I think that they were pushing it when they made The Hobbit. It's a tiny book, he said. They did well. They really did really well. They expanded it, but I think you can only stretch a piece of elastic so far. I think they managed it in The Hobbit because there were some really good things in The Hobbit, without a doubt. And people have very mixed opinions on The Hobbit. I personally like the movie trilogy. Were the films perfect? Absolutely not. Like he points out, they really stretched the material they had, but I still ultimately would rather those films exist than not exist. But with Rings of Power, I've got to be honest, I wish that it wasn't created in the first place just because of how bad it is. I understand that not everything is going to be perfect. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Tolkien's work, and I am very critical of any new projects surrounding it, but I do genuinely believe that all of this content should have ended after the Hobbit films for a good amount of time. They should have put really solid people on this project, from writers to producers to directors, and sadly they didn't. I mean, they had an opportunity to work with Peter Jackson on this show and they ghosted him, which is just so awful. It is just so ridiculous to think that they had that opportunity and they wasted it. He even said he was so against the show from the beginning he didn't even watch it, which of course Variety in this article is slamming him for, saying he doesn't even know what's in this series. Maybe it would be good if he gave it a chance. But there were other LOTR actors who forgot that this show even existed, like Viggo Mortensen. I had talked about this when it happened, but he had reacted to the Rings of Power saying that, oh, wait, I forgot that show is being made, which was hilarious. In an interview with THR, upon being asked about the show, he simply responded, "What is that?" And he asks whether it will be with Apple or something, showing he knows of the show's existence but is not informed about much else. And he said that, it would be fun to see, but of course, at that point, we didn't know how much of a disaster this show was going to turn out to be. I would love to know his thoughts on it now. I would love to see if he still thinks that the show is fun and he's excited for season 2. But, again, a lot of actors won't trash new entries into a franchise that they've been part of just because they're afraid to upset fans. Because there are some people who liked Rings of Power who thought that it was a pretty whimsical show that, maybe would get better in season 2. But of course, Amazon did get some of the original actors to defend this series, like Elijah Wood, Sean Astin. Back a couple of months ago, they were used as props to denounce the LOTR fans following the racism accusations. They gave them shirts that said, "You were all welcome here," which, again, is kind of understandable. I mean, of course, if Amazon can get a couple of the OG actors to defend this show by simply wearing a shirt, they're going to, and that's what they did in this case. I truly think this situation is hilarious, though, because so many Tolkien fans have been speaking out about the Rings of Power for months now. People have said that this show shouldn't have been created and it shouldn't have existed. And now we've got Bernard Hill coming out and standing with fans saying, you know what, I agree with everybody. I had no interest in it. It's just a cash grab and it shouldn't have even been created in the first place. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.